Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening to Wake Up, Look Up, a podcast where we connect events happening in real time to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Zach Weihrauch. And today's episode, we're talking about teaching them to read. This is prompted by an article that was in The Atlantic this week showing that college students, even at elite schools like Georgetown and Columbia, are increasingly unable to read books. Not just unwilling or disinterested, actually not able to read them, meaning they're going to professors and saying, I cannot do the work because I cannot concentrate long enough to actually read through a book. This is a major problem on college campuses. And again, we're not talking about your local community college. We're talking about elite schools where kids have had to get high-level grades and I assume show an ability to do a high-level academic work, but they still can't bring themselves to read. In fact, a study done in 1976 at the time showed that 40% of teenagers had read 6 books or more in a given year. Only 11% had read 0 books. That same study was done in 2022, and the numbers had completely flipped, meaning 40% of teenagers had read 0 books that year, and only 11% had read 6 or more. It's a major problem. Not just a problem, by the way, for the teenagers themselves, but it represents a shift in education. A recent study that was done over 300 3rd to 8th grade teachers revealed that only 25% of teachers total use 0 books in their classroom. Their kids are reading no full books. And 17% of teachers are using books to some degree, but not the full book. It's an incredible stat. Teachers aren't asking students to read. Students aren't reading. It's a problem with our society. It's not just a problem, by the way, educationally, like in a vacuum or in theory. Neuroscience tells us that increased immersion in an actual book increases critical thinking skills and self-reflection, 2 things that we are increasingly in short supply of in our culture. But since this is a Christian podcast, let me make a crossover here. The primary way that God communicates with his people is through a book. It's through the Bible. Psalm 19, the writer says that the Bible to us is sweeter than honey. It's better than gold because it is what God uses to transform us into who he wants us to be. These teenagers growing up in our culture and in our churches who aren't readers are alienating themselves from the very voice of God. So what do we do? Well, as a church community and culture and as parents, we have got to get kids reading. We've got to get control of smartphone usage, video games, and other things. We've got to incentivize getting our kids reading. Recently, my family took a road trip, and I actually printed out a list of books, had the books in the car, and paid $25 a book, that every time one of my kids read an entire book and then could pass a quiz about it that I gave them orally, I actually paid them for it. That's because the benefit they got from reading great books, especially those books about Jesus, is worth the money. Get creative. Find ways to get your kids reading. By the way, not only will it be good for them spiritually and good for them in terms of their brain, but it'll also set them apart from an increasingly illiterate culture. Help your kids succeed. Get them reading. And above all else, get them listening to the voice of God found in the Bible. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. While you're here, we'd love to ask you to hit subscribe or to like so you get future content. If you listen to the audio version too, make sure you leave a review and a comment. That really helps. Consider sharing it on social media and helping us get the word out. And hey, while you're here, check out all the other content that Christ Community Chapel is putting out, including the videos that are around me right now.